Final hour overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel. Brian Hayes, Frankie Corrado, TSN 1050 up on TSN 2. We'll head down to the park, catch up with Scotty Mitchell here in a moment. Got a Jays arbitration case I might bring up here momentarily as well, Frank.
All right. I have something for you too, maybe.
Okay, what do you have?
Are you and I on the same page? Do we need to issue an apology to Yusei Kikuchi for all the slander we threw at him last year?
I don't think so at all. I don't think it was slander. It was accurate analysis.
Okay.
It was 100% accurate.
It actually was. Like, the guy would bury 4 balls consecutively into the dirt, and now this year he's Randy Johnson.
That happens all the time. Like, I understand the nature of our job and what we do,
yeah.
right? Is we give our opinions, you're in the moment, you give takes, and opinions are always subject to change. But I've been hearing from people all season, sending me tweets or DMs on Instagram, and they're like, hey, how about Kikuchi? What do you think? I'm like, great, awesome. It's awesome what Kikuchi's doing.
Yeah, that's the analysis now.
What
the
else do you want me to
analysis is
say?
he's
It's
a great pitcher now.
It's great.
I do remember, before the season started, you were saying, this guy could be more important than Barrios this year. If he's a good pitcher, that is more important to the team. And not only is he a good pitcher, you can make the argument that he's better than Barrios.
Oh, absolutely. Statistically, he has been, certainly in the second half. Like, since the All-Star game, I believe, he has the lowest ERA in the American League. That's how good Kikuchi's been. And remember, he had a great spring training. I believe he had the lowest ERA in the Grapefruit League, I believe, which doesn't mean anything.
Still, but it's better than being a gas can in the
better than being a mess or getting injured or something,
Yeah.
or basically being designated for assignment and not even breaking camp. It was a sign of things to come for Yusei, and he's got tighter pants. He's got a beard now, and he's basically Robbie Ray.
How close are you to just your next wardrobe change, just going as tight as you possibly can on all your pants? I think you have to.
Yeah, I think I have to. Like, if my golfing is basically the only thing I do athletically, my game is really porous right now. I need tight pants, and I need to grow a beard, and then maybe it's possible I find a way to redeem myself. But yeah, the Kikuchi story, I still would rank it Manoah first. But the Manoah story is the number one story of the year because of the shock and awe that has come with it. But Kikuchi's story, I think, is number 2. Like, in terms of individual players, not from a team perspective. But the fact that he's been healthy and he's been this good, this serviceable, to the point where you're legitimately talking about him as a part of your 3-man wild card rotation.
Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that. It's been a revelation. And to piggyback onto what you were saying about 1 and 2, number 3 might be Vladdy right now.
Yep.
Like, he is in one and he's not seeing it. And George Springer was just there not too long ago, and he's found a way to break through. Like, Vladdy at some point is going to come out of this. There's too much talent for him not to.
Well, listen, Springer saved them last night because Vladdy hit into that double play.
Yeah.
And Vladdy is a double play machine right now, like a double play machine. And it is very troublesome that we're this deep into the season and he has not unlocked a run. Like, everyone is bracing for it naturally, and I think they should be because of who he is and what he's already done in his career. But it's August 16th. This is not a scenario where we're in May anymore.
Dude, he's got to be one of those guys that bases juiced. There are 2 guys on. The pitcher, is shaking on the mound because he's like, I don't know where I'm going to put this ball because I'm going to walk him, I'm going to bring in a run, or he's going to take me yard, or he's going to hit a double. Like, something bad is going to happen with this guy at the dish. It doesn't even look threatening right now.
That should be his reputation. You're right. That, based on who he is and who he's supposed to be and what he has been in the past, he should be the guy that terrifies an opponent in the situation he found himself in last night. And I can't imagine that's still the case. That's not to say that they would be taking it easy on him or they would prefer, Biggio up or something like that. But there are at least, 2-3 guys on this team, especially when Bichette returns, that I guarantee you the opponents would prefer to miss before facing Vladdy.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They'd rather take on Vladdy than Bichette. In terms of just putting a ball in play, Whit Merrifield has been more predictable and more productive.
Even Brandon Belt's hit the ball,
absolutely.
putting it in play.
Against righties, he puts balls in play.
Yeah.
Springer, to your point, is starting to come alive here. It's been It's strange because if you were putting together probably the 5 stories of the season on an individual level, you'd probably go negative, positive, right? Like you might go Manoah, Kikuchi, Vladdy, Barrios, and then you pick your poison for where you might go from there. Maybe you look at Kirk. Maybe you look at Springer.
Or it could be a positive. It could be the bullpen being such a positive, right? Like how many?
Bichette's been great.
How many years have we talked about the Jays bullpen just not having the arms to throw heat, and now they do. Like now they got a great setup guy. They have a great closer. Romano last night was outstanding. Like that whole sequence of Hicks striking out the side and Romano going 3 up, 3 down. He had the velocity up. He had movement on the pitches. Like, man, that's dangerous.
His off-speed pitches were dancing last night.
Yeah.
And, like it's, you don't want to get crazy here, but there's like a Hanky Ward vibe last night.
Yes.
Right? Oh, last night.
Yeah.
With Hicks coming in, throwing the way that he throws. Now, you don't know what you're getting out of Hicks, admittedly. And you knew that coming in from St. Louis. It was like, if this guy's off at all, it's a wild thing situation. Like, he has no idea where it's going. But if he zones in and he dials it in, he's hitting corners at 100. No one has a shot against him.
No.
And then Romano comes in the way he's coming in. Good news today, Chad Green, it looks like he's on his way back to recovery. He could be joining this team at some point as well. And they got the lowest team ERA in baseball right now.
Amazing.
So it really is incredible what they've done with their staff. Jays, Phillies tonight. Let's head down to the park. Here's our Jays reporter, Scott Mitchell. Romano and Hicks, like how good could this be for them? And like how necessary is this, Scotty? We talk about it every year. The best teams in the playoffs, they always have power arms that can get strikeouts and get outs late in games. If they've established that with Romano and Hicks and Green's coming, how good could this back into the bullpen be come playoff time?
I see you dropping a Ward Hanky reference there. That's a juicy one.
I'm going there. I'm getting a little crazy here. I love it.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is it. I mean, we talked about this for the last couple of years. You kind of stack up the 2021, 2022 pen. You never felt like it was a kind of playoff caliber, World Series caliber bullpen, and this one you do. And it's not just the results that they've been getting. Since day one of this season, they got the 4th best ERA, bullpen ERA in baseball. It's been even better here in the second half. It's some of the statistics. You look at the fact they've got the 3rd best walk rate in baseball. Way too many free passes in previous years. You look at the nightmares of Rafael Dolis, Tyler Chatwood, guys like that. These were the types of arms that were pitching high leverage moments for this team over the past couple of years. And, this year it's, you look at that Eric Swanson trade, at the time, everyone's like, who? They're getting a reliever for, a guy that can hit 30, 35 home runs. That's worked out well. The Hicks trade was exactly what they needed to go out and do at the deadline. And, to add a guy that gives you that 100 miles an hour. He's got an elite sinker. The element that was missing from this bullpen was a guy that could come in and get ground balls. 42%, they were 23rd in the league. So to add Hicks, career 60% ground ball rate, I don't know that we're going to see the exact blueprint that we saw last night where it's just, Hicks in the 8th, Romano in the 9th. I think you're going to see Hicks moving around. He's the type of guy that, you bring in with a runner on base. You need a double play ball. Him and Eric Swanson are both that type of guy. So, Schneider said today, he called them interchangeable. So other than Jordan Romano in the 9th inning, Hicks, Meza, Jimmy Garcia, Trevor Richards when he gets back, who's been really underrated this year, Chad Green. There's essentially every element in this bullpen, and there's also depth. So, yeah, I mean, kudos to this front office. They've built a nice group, and this group has performed.
Scotty, you're down at the ballpark every day with this team. You can pick up on the vibe and what the feeling is like around the players. Like for Yusei Kikuchi, this is a revelation, and it's not just a couple weeks. It's not just a flash in the pan. Like this has been his season, and in the last 30 days, he's got the best ERA out of any pitcher in the MLB. Like, other than tight pants and a beard, like, what's going on there? Is it just confidence? Like, what's the vibe around Yusei Kikuchi right now on a day-to-day?
I mean, tight pants and a beard, it answers all of the questions you have to ask. So, look, this guy's been a tinkerer. When you look at Yusei Kikuchi's career, he's in his 5th season now. You look at his analytics and you look at his log, he's never had the same repertoire from year to year. So this guy's always been kind of trying to figure out what works against major league hitters, sometimes in-season adjustments. The adjustments that he made coming into this year, they seem to have taken. And, quietly around the organization right now, I think there's kind of, people looking side-eyed at each other saying, is this real? Is this, what we're getting? Because when you look at the stuff and you look at, Yusei Kikuchi, this is what you could have. You see 96, you see 97 on occasion from the left side. You see a real sharp slider. So for him to add the curveball this year, then that's the difference. He's got a slower breaking ball now, comes in at 83. He's bumped the slider up to about 88, 89, ditched his 90-mile-an-hour cutter this year. And now that mix is working because he's got a couple different looks. And you saw the curveball last night. He's kind of landing that for strikes. He's using the slider, starting it as a strike to ball, trying to get guys to chase off that. And that repertoire seems to be working. And look, I hope he doesn't tinker again because this has kind of been the MO with him. And the Blue Jays are hoping to lock this in. And like you said, it's been pretty much 2.5 months now. He mentioned the end of May, early June start in New York against the Mets as the turning point. And you look at the numbers since then, and man, it's pretty crazy. Like he's been their ace over the past 2 months, and that's pretty amazing to say because a year ago he was being demoted to the bullpen.
If they make the wild card, do you think he's a part of the 3-man rotation?
I mean, if it started tomorrow, you would have to. You run your hot guys out there. Everyone knows Kevin Gausman's the ace. He's going to start game 1. Kind of a similar conversation to what we had last year when we were trying to figure out who was going to start game 3, Barrios, Stripling. It would probably be a little bit dependent on the matchups and who the team was. But I think right now, if you're looking for dominance, you're probably rolling out Gausman, Kikuchi, Barrios, and Chris Bassett, who's been pretty darn consistent this year, is the guy left out in the cold there. So, wow. Good rotation, good bullpen. It's almost like pitching wins ball games, they tell us.
Yeah, it's shocking how that works out. And then if you can get some clutch hitting, then you're really talking. Not that we haven't wasted enough time talking about that situation. But, yeah, we were discussing it. I mean, it's all just a projection at this point. Everyone knows Gausman's going to get the ball. Beyond that, I have been of the belief that Bassett would be a part of that 3-man. But as you're pointing out, you'd think it'd be Kikuchi and Barrios likely in some order, 2 and 3. I'm curious, though, of if you're looking at Kikuchi and Barrios, like which one do you think would be more comfortable playing a bullpen role? I guess you could include Bassett. Like if you're looking at a situation where you get into the playoffs and you're basically telling the starter, give us 3 innings if you can. Give us if you can get 2 times through the rotation, that'd be great. But basically you're looking at it like you give us 3, the next guy's maybe going to give us 3, and then hopefully we hand over to Meza, into Hicks, into Romano or something like that. Who do you think would be most comfortable coming in the 3rd or 4th inning?
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that because we talked about that last October, and the reason that I thought they would go with Barrios in Game 3 over Stripling was exactly that case because Stripling obviously comfortable coming out of the bullpen, done it in his career, but they were actually going to go with Stripling. So maybe they don't weigh that as much as you would think they should, but Kikuchi's the only one that's really done it consistently over the last little bit. Barrios has 0 experience in the bullpen. Bassett was a swingman earlier in his career a little bit. Maybe he's the most comfortable one in that. He's a veteran guy as well. I think it's such an interesting case, and I just think the 2 elements that it's going to come down to when that decision needs to be made is how you're pitching at the time down the stretch in September, and with lefty-righty matchups, obviously with Barrios and Kikuchi to kind of factor in there. But if they start tomorrow, I don't know how you don't give Kikuchi a start just based on how he's pitched.
So Bo Bichette starts today in Buffalo. He goes 2 for 3, and he's a DH. Now he's got to play one more time. I guess he's got to play at shortstop, but how encouraging is that, and how quickly do you expect him back in the lineup for the Jays?
Yeah, he'll be back in Cincy this weekend, whether it's Saturday or Friday to be determined. They'll see him come in Buffalo tomorrow, and like you said, they want to get him one game at short. He's got to play the field. whether that's tomorrow and then they get him to Cincy on Friday. You might want to give him a day off, but he'll be back this weekend. And to keep your head above water at 8-6 with him out of the lineup, probably this organization will take that, because the night he went down, you're struggling to score as it is, and you're saying, oh no, this could be a real dry stretch for these couple weeks or whatever it is. And to get through above 500, to kind of not have any real bad, kind of downturns while he's out, it's positive. And this guy's been the most consistent hitter this year by far. I think even before, he went down, he was scuffling a little bit. But, when you look at these two guys, Bo and Vladdy over these next 6 weeks, I mean, this is the time where you change the narrative from really good young player into superstar. And, pennant races are when you do that. And I think, Bichette has proven over these last couple of Septembers that, he can turn it on when the lights are on. I think Vladdy also needs to do that. And, we talked about how good this team pitches. If those two guys hit like they can down the stretch in September, I think, this team is going to get real hot at the right time.
Yeah, those are the catalysts, as we all know. You can talk about Springer and how good Merrifield's been, and Chapman's been hot and cold, and discuss the struggles of Varsho. This team's built around Bichette and Guerrero, right? Bo hit in second, Vladdy hit in third, and Bichette has pulled his weight. Vladdy has not. And he hit into another double play last night. I think that's either 16 or 17 on the year for Vladdy. And he looks like he's confused, Scotty. Like it doesn't really look like it's close for Vladdy. That's concerning on August 16th, because he has not had like that 3 or 4 week run that we've all been waiting for, where it's 20 games. This guy, he hits 400 over the course of that, 6-7 bombs. The guy's a machine at 1,300 OPS. Like, it just hasn't happened. And I'm not sure why on August 16th it's just going to snap out of it starting tonight.
Yeah, all fair questions. I mean, I talked about this on SportsCenter tonight, and it's the question of what's wrong with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. There's really no answer to it. The Blue Jays don't have a mechanical fix that's going to snap him out of this. When you look at all the underlying analytics, they all say he should be producing much more than he is. He hits the ball as hard as anyone in the game. The ground ball rate, the launch angle, they're all in line with, 2021, rather than, kind of some of the more extreme times when we've seen him beating the ball into the ground. He still hits too many ground balls, but it's the curious case of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. this year, because, I looked up at the scoreboard on a nightly basis where they had the OPS, and last night I sat there and I was stunned that Bryson Stott has the same OPS as Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Whit Merrifield has an OPS in the same range as Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and that's exactly it. You just want more from this guy, and there's no way he should be slugging 450. There's no way he should be OBPing 340. This guy's capable of MVP numbers, and we've seen it. And when you look at the analytics, they all say that he should be one of the best hitters in baseball as well. So. It's very clear from the eye test that he presses at times and faces sliders off the plate, which, every hitter in baseball does from time to time. I think, probably the most stunning part of the last couple months has been just the chase up in the zone, swinging through fastballs, getting middle fastballs and grounding out on them. And yeah, look, I think we both said this same thing. You wait for that 3 or 4 week run, and right now, if you're the Blue Jays, they keep saying the same thing. We feel like he's in a good spot. We feel like, he's one game away from getting hot. And, hey, maybe he does it in a pennant race and, it erases the first 4 or 5 months. But like you said, there hasn't been signs of that this year, so it's hard to have the confidence that it's going to happen. But, you're in the area of the season where if he does get hot, he could really carry them through September.
All right, Scotty. Jays, Phillies tonight. Enjoy it down there, buddy. We'll do it again soon.
Cheers, boys. Take care.
Scott Mitchell, our TSN Jays reporter. Jays, Phillies tonight. Kevin Gausman on the mound. Then off tomorrow and in Cincinnati this weekend. So Bichette will return at some point this weekend. It's just a matter of whether or not it's Friday or possibly Saturday.
You ever just see random names trending on Twitter for no reason? And you're like, why is that trending right now?
So who is doing that now?
Keith Hernandez.
Keith Hernandez.
Keith Hernandez is trending. I guess MLB Network put out a tweet, like if you could compile your all-time infield. So Keith Hernandez keeps popping up in tweets.
Really?
But yeah.
That seems like, listen, Keith Hernandez was a great player. You're telling me he would be starting at first base all time?
That's what people are saying on Twitter because he's trending. But all I think about is the Seinfeld episodes with Keith Hernandez.
It's
amazing. That loogie, that magical loogie.
Obviously, he had a great career. It was great, Matt. Number retired. But, yeah, it's Seinfeld and now what he does in the booth.
Yeah.
He's a part of a great three-man booth down in New York. And, yeah, Keith Hernandez as an all-time – listen, he was a great player. But, yeah, that does pop up a lot. You just see random names trending, and you're like, what happened?
Yeah.
Why is this guy up there? Is it a positive or is it a negative?
Yeah.
There's two options. You're trending for one of two reasons.
Yeah.
Which one is it? So, yeah, Keith Hernandez all time.
Keith Hernandez.
Keith Hernandez. All right, thanks to Scotty. Jays Phillies tonight. Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel later this hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. TSN 1050 is once again delivering backpacks filled with school supplies to support local families. It's all part of our 9th annual Back to School Backpacks event happening Wednesday, August 23rd. This year's event is presented by Healthy Planet, together in partnership with the Children's Breakfast Clubs. 1,010 young students will receive the tools they need to succeed before the school bell rings in September. For all the details, please head to tsn1050.ca. Getting real close to school, and it's right around the corner. So check it out, tsn1050.ca. Canada basketball got some tough news this morning, Frankie. The FIBA World Cup is going to be taking place in just over a week. And Jamal Murray, you looked at the roster. When they released the roster a couple of weeks ago of what they projected it was going to look like, I think a lot of Canadians were saying, all right, this is moving in a good direction, right? Like the big boys are going to show up and actually play here. And Murray's decided that he's not going to play.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly disappointing. It is a sign of where basketball is at in general in the sport that I sense a lot of people are just accepting this and just totally reasoning with where Murray's coming from. And to be fair to Jamal, like this is his explanation. He obviously had a long season. He's won a championship. And he was coming off an ACL tear. So he was coming off, last summer where he was really grinding, really rehabbing. And that's a major injury, especially in, the sport of basketball where you start messing with your knees, then you have a long season. But he could have played, and he's not playing. And, it's strange when it comes to the national team with basketball because there's such a long history of the best players in particular saying he's not going to do it.
Yeah.
And this one's tough because it's the World Cup, it's not the Olympics, and it's in Asia in late August, right? Like it's a really tough travel. It's late in the off season, and the big one is the Olympic Games, right? Like you look at the American team, they're not sending any of their big boys for the most part because they couldn't get them to commit because I think they're all looking towards next summer at the Olympic Games in Paris. But for Canada, you got to get there first.
Yeah. And
again, the reasoning is justified. And in the world of the NBA and in basketball, it's 100% accepted.
Yeah,
yes,
I don't blame him.
Long season, you had a bad injury, but you could play. You're not currently injured.
He could, for sure.
You could play. You've decided not to play.
The ACL
and I'm sorry, that's still
valid.
very disappointing.
It is disappointing for sure from the fans' point of view. And I would imagine if you're sitting there and you're Jamal Murray, you're looking down the road and you see NBA revenues going up and you're thinking, okay, I just had the ACL. I grinded. I was in the playoffs. I did all this. Now I'm going to go travel halfway around the world, play a tournament. I need to be ready for NBA basketball because that's where the money is being made. And he's got an opportunity like a lot of, top 20 NBA players are doing here, are setting themselves up for the rest of their lives with massive paychecks.
Yeah.
I imagine he looks at that and says, the juice is not worth the squeeze for me. And it sucks because, you want to be representing your country, but it's a purely business decision. And I can get behind it. I really can. Not as a fan of the sport and wanting Canada to do well, but from the athlete's point of view, it's completely valid. It also it shows you the difference between hockey and basketball, right? Where, there's hockey players, all they want to do is play best on best. Like, they haven't been able to do it, and guys are dying to do it. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, it's like, actually, I got to save myself because I got the moneymaker starting in October.
Well, you take it for granted in basketball, there's international tournaments every year, effectively. And Jamal Murray also understands whenever he wants to play, he's automatically playing.
Right.
And he's playing a lot of minutes.
Yeah.
So it's not as if he's fighting for a position that he might be giving up, and they're going to fill that role with someone else and then say, see it, Jamal, you burned us, so we're not going to. He still is going to be a part of the program when he wants to be a part of the program. And the other side of it all is where Denver comes into play. You mentioned from the player's perspective, which is 100% what he's thinking right now. I wouldn't be surprised if Denver wasn't keen on him playing.
Oh, for
basically
sure.
said, listen, don't play. We don't want you to play. And that would be consistent with what a lot of teams have done with a lot of stars over the years, is that they basically say, we're not giving you the green light. We don't want you to go.
Dude, that's a massive investment for them. Why do they?
It is.
Why would they want these guys going over there risking injury? It seems like every time one of these tournaments happens, there's someone who's coming back with something, and the owner or the GM is pissed about it, and they have every right to be.
It can happen. You can't bubble wrap guys. Guys could get banged up playing at Rutgers Park. You know what I mean? They could blow their knee out in the gym working out. Like, I don't buy into that idea that only these tournaments are where you can get injured. You can get injured at any point doing anything.
Yep.
But the fact is, this still is load management that is seeping into the international game. And it's disappointing. It's very disappointing that the finances and the team commitment is more important than the patriotic commitment. And it's just been too consistent throughout really the history of this program, where high-end players have just said, I'm not doing it.
Well, you're a businessman. Like, you're a man of business. You're always talking about it, right? Mm-hmm. If you're an owner and you've invested, $35 million into this player for this year, you want him going over and playing for his country? I wouldn't.
Probably not, but guess what? There's still going to be players playing in it.
Yes.
Right? Like, there are teams, like the American team is filled with NBA players.
Yeah.
The Canadian team is still filled with NBA players. So you can't just pick your poison and say, well, that guy can go, but this guy can't go, or whatever. I think across the board, if I was an NBA owner, I wouldn't be ecstatic with it. I understand that. And again, I think a lot of the pressure is coming from Denver. I'm sure that's the case. And this is not like Jamal Murray is 100% healthy. They didn't even make the playoffs, and he's never had an injury, and you just say, I'm not going. But you do see historically guys saying, I'm not going because I'm going into a contract year. Right. So it's just, I'm not playing. And like, that's something that I like to see changed with this national program. It's been plaguing it for a long time.
Yeah.
It has not felt like it's been something that all of our players are dying to do, is represent the country.
Well,
whenever Canada's playing, you got to be there. And
it hasn't been that way.
For the program to really exceed, it's got to get there at some point.
Even just on the NBA scale, like we talked about this tournament, the NBA Cup that they're bringing in. So, like, if you're a player, you obviously want to go represent your country. There's a source of pride there. You're not going to go for obvious reasons, load management, wherever the case may be. But now you got to play this rinky-dink tournament in the middle of the season, and you're like, I don't want to be playing this either. Right? They're adding more stuff. But
they have to play 82 games anyway. They're adding a variation of the schedule that's already in existence. And these guys are making like $60 million, and they're not cool with it.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredibly aggravating how often it comes up in basketball of all sports. And I understand these guys are massive human beings. They are massive. Like, you're talking 6'5" is small in the NBA. So there is a protectment. You have to protect the asset, protect the player, sports science, all that kind of stuff. But it's just, I think it's overshadowed the world of basketball to an extent that's too far gone. The amount, like the attitude of, I either don't want to play, or I can't play, or I need to protect myself.
I got to save it,
else.
Right? Like Kawhi Leonard's a great example of that.
Yeah.
Like at any given time when he's in the lineup, he's one of the best players in the league, just never available. So if you're the team, you're okay, so what do we do with this guy? Like, we have to lay things out in a way that this guy can, you're looking months down the road to find rest day here, rest day there, a treatment day there. And you hope if everything goes right and you just turn the knobs just right, you'll get the productive player that you deserve to get, because that's who he is at the end of the day. It's become such a delicate thing to deal with for these teams.
Yeah, it's constant. It really is a constant conversation. Like even the Raptors and their reputation, Nick Nurse's reputation, that he was playing guys into the ground. And statistically, that was the case in terms of the amount of minutes they were playing. But he was playing his star players. Like he felt like he needed them to win because he didn't trust his bench, which was a reasonable take.
Yeah.
Because the bench was incredibly thin and weak.
But that's an old school thought now.
Right, exactly.
The fact that you're gonna run your stars into the ground on 8th or 9th place team. Like, who's doing that these days? No one is. You need them fresh. And okay, I understand there's new science that comes out, there's new thought processes, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you're going to win and lose with your leaders. That's the bottom line, and that's in every sport.
Yeah, that is 100%.
And that shouldn't be an old school thought. That should just be, it's common sense.
You see this, I think it was an Instagram post by Marquise Noel, he's the newest Raptor, effectively. He's a kid coming in, and I guess he posted that he plans on being the greatest Raptor to ever play. That was his post. Which I would just wonder why you would stop there. Like, why not just go above and beyond and say, give me the greatest player of all time?
Yeah, he said, I will. Like, not I want to be, but I will be.
I will. Marquise is claiming, I will be the greatest Raptor ever.
Would love to see it.
That'd be a great story.
That'd be great.
Incredibly confident. But at what point is it like, where do you pass confidence and you get to a point where you say, you're not doing yourself any favors?
Well, I think he passed. I think it's safe to say
he
passed.
He blew past confidence to a point where it's like, you kind of got to make the rotation first, make sure you're a part of the team. There's a chance you're playing in Mississauga at times this year. Like, you're not a lock to be a part of any rotation here.
No kidding.
And yet you're planning on being the greatest Raptor of all time. And I don't know, I guess it's limitless at that point. Once you break down the barriers of saying stuff like that, what's stopping you from going the extra mile?
Can we just think about some of the players? Like, we're talking Vince Carter, Kyle Lowry, Kawhi Leonard, even though he was there for 1 year, Fred VanVleet. Like, I don't know. Like, seems like it'd be pretty tough. Isn't that one of those ones where you look at it and say, I want to go to this team. I want to do everything I possibly can to be the best I can be. But I think I'm that good that I can be there with those guys at some point.
Yeah, it's a lofty goal. I'll give them that. Like you wouldn't just be happy with being a very good player, fan favorite, 5-10 year career, make some money, greatest of all time. The bar has been set.
Yeah.
What's next? I'm going to Mars, right? I'm going to live until I'm 200 years old. Like, why not just get crazy?
Going to hop in a spaceship with Elon Musk. Yeah. He's going to start a Mars basketball league.
Absolutely.
Playing with all the aliens.
Greatest ever to play on Mars.
Yeah.
That's what's coming.
It's a bold statement. Listen,
very bold statement.
He's young, obviously. Like, there's just so many times where young athletes will say things. It's like, I would love a mulligan on that. Even veteran guys. I'm sure there's been veteran guys throughout the course of their career. They said something, whether it's to a media member or a teammate or a coach, and you're like, what the hell was I saying? Like,
right.
Why did I say that? It's one of those ones where maybe, he looks at it after, he's like, probably would love a redo on that.
Maybe not a repost. I don't think I'll be reposting that one.
Yeah.
But it's out there. Can't take it back. And now, all right, man, let's see what you got.
Yeah.
Let's see what you got. What's the timeline on that? Bar's set. Greatest of all time. The GOAT has arrived.
Yeah.
In Toronto. We'll come back with our best bets brought to you by FanDuel. Tee up Jay's Phillies one more time as well. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Looking at the BMW, right, just outside of Chicago. Down to 50, Frankie, in the FedEx Cup.
Here we go.
Players.
Yeah.
All right, I got a 3-pack of top 20 guys. All right, 3-pack here. John Rahm. I think he bounces back. He did not play well last week. You put Rombo in a situation where the best on best are there. He's too good. Top 20. Yes, you got to pay some juice on that, but as a part of a parlay, I like it. Lucas Glover, your boy, Luke, Glover.
Rolling
the
da
glove.
rock.
This guy, all he does is shoot in the 60s.
Yeah.
All he does is get swass, rolling putts, and break 70.
Kind of moody, too, isn't he?
He seems like a guy that really isn't that happy.
No, he's rather ornery for a guy who golfs that well and rolls da rock that well.
Right. He's won back-to-back, and everyone's like kind of on eggshells around him.
Yeah.
But he's dialed, and so is Tommy Fleetwood, my boy, my guy Tommy. He maybe doesn't win these tournaments ever, but he's always in contention. He's been great, really, since the Pro-Am at Oakdale. Ever since the Pro-Am at Oakdale, I unleashed and unlocked Tommy Fleetwood's best game. And
since he saw you hit that one shot, and he looked at you and said, "It's a golf shot."
Golf shot. Yeah. That was that was six green, I believe, at Oakdale.
Okay.
And gnarly rough, nasty rough, downhill, icy. I put a little spin on a 60-degree. That thing came out like butter.
I don't know if you put spin on that out of the rough.
I did. I found a way to put spin on that, and it stopped. I thought it was going in. Honestly, my heart was stopping. I'm like, there's a lot of people around here, including Tommy Fleetwood. I think I just chipped in for bird.
Yeah.
And just missed it, but it was a tap-in par, and old Tommy said, golf shot.
You send your boy Tommy a good luck text message.
I intend on doing that. When I get off the air, I will do that. And I'm going to also say, hey, I got you top 20, so at a minimum, smarten up and top 20 this thing. There you go. Rahm, Glover, Fleetwood, all T20. Love it. Today's best bet's powered by FanDuel. Bet on star players to score, assist, or have a shot on goal in a soccer game same-game parlay. Please play responsibly. Must be 19 plus and physically located in Ontario. We're down to the finals, Women's World Cup. So, that thing's – I mean, it always flies by, especially when Canada went out as quickly as they did. It's like, all right.
I feel like it's been on for 4 months. I really do. Like, I feel like
a lot of build-up.
Like Lindsay and Claire Hanna went down there, and you're watching it all unfold on Instagram, and you're seeing them on TV. Then Canada left. Then they went to like Indonesia, and it felt like they were there for 2 months. Now they're back in Australia. It feels like the longest thing ever, but it's been good. It's been entertaining.
Yeah,
been a lot
those
of good
two are
soccer.
living a great life. Lindsay and Claire, that is a great, great gig right now. Like
dude,
Australia,
I guess it was going to be 6 weeks no matter what, right? Like fly into Australia, fly out of Australia. So make the most of it.
Make the most of it. You're probably only getting there once, right? It's not like driving to Buffalo. Like if you find yourself in Australia, you better take advantage.
Could you do that flight to Australia?
I think it'd be mandatory. You're over there for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh
right?
God! Oh yeah!
Like you can't go over there for like 4 days.
No, you can't even go for a week. Like I think you got to be a
time.
month minimum there.
That's a tough commitment, but I'm with you. Like I think minimum like 2.5 weeks.
Here's the crazy thing. So you hop on that bird, and you hope you're sitting business class. But if you're not, okay, like it's understandable. You're gonna watch 4 movies. You're gonna eat a couple meals. You're still going to have 16 hours left on that bird. It's
crazy. It's I believe a 24-hour flight, right? Like give or take.
24 hours.
Probably have to make stops. Like most of them you'd fly to like maybe Hawaii, then to Vancouver, or then Toronto or whatever. But yeah, I know a family that lives down there that they had to come back multiple times, like in short stints because of a family emergency.
Oh man!
And they brought their kids, I believe, both times.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, that's like 4 flights there and back over the course of like 2 months.
It's outrageous.
That is just crazy how long that is.
You want to hear first world problems? So my wife and I go on our honeymoon, and we're flying to Rome. And I guess they changed the bird at the last minute. So all the seats got scrambled up. So if you bought the priority seat with a little more leg room, that was out the window. You were just sitting with the cattle in the back.
There
was a lot of unhappy people. But the biggest kick in the pants was when you got on the bird and there was no outlets for no chargers and no screen and no Wi-Fi.
You're kidding me.
And people were losing their minds. And it's like, listen, we're in 2023. We have all this technology. And this is the way people used to travel. This was normal, right?
I'm pretty sure I did Europe. Now, this would have been 10 years ago, but same circumstances. Now, that was just the way it was.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure we maybe flew back with nothing. Like, and I don't think and this is how dumb I was. I don't think I grabbed a magazine or a book. I was putty for like 13 hours. I was staring at the back of the seat for like 13 hours.
Dude, do you know the thoughts that go through your head when you're staring
awful.
at the back of a seat for 13 hours?
It's terrible.
It can get so dark.
Yeah,
in your head,
really
and it can start wandering to places you're like, I don't want to ever go back there again, and I don't want to revisit all these memories that are coming back to me. But
terrible.
It was such first world problems, right? Like we're all sitting there, and everyone's like asking the poor flight attendants, like, is there outlets? Is there chargers? No, unfortunately not. There's no. Do you have any iPads or any Wi? No, unfortunately not. It's like, it's not their fault. But
sit tight and read. Grab a book and read.
Read a book and hope that you thought ahead to download something on Netflix from your iPad. Like that's the play.
Issue. That's the thing. If you don't get the download in time, then it's basically useless for you.
Yeah.
You might be able to play a couple of games, but that can't get you through like a 10, 12-hour flight.
No.
At some point you're going to be freaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, those long flights are wild, man. Yeah. It is a different beast.
And then you see the family traveling with like a 2-year-old, and you're like, oh, I feel so bad for these people. Like the people right next to us had a young kid, and they're like scrambling. Okay, the kid's got to sleep, so I'm gonna stand for an hour, and then the other one stands for an hour, and oh man.
Well, the stand-up routine that's a big part of the process, right? Like, 'cause you got to get up, you got to get the circulation going, but you don't want to be bothering people walking up and down. And then if you get stuck, if you're in between a service cart and your seat, it's a mess.
Yeah.
It's a whole conundrum.
Just don't get up during the meal service. You can't do it.
No, you can't. But it can take so long. If it's a big plane, it feels like it takes over an hour. Sometimes it can't.
It does. It honestly does. It's actually that's how we were killing time at one point. We were just kind of like watching this happen and watching the human interactions go down. Like that's what else do you do?
Well, there's nothing else you can do.
That's all you're doing.
Yeah, there's nothing else you can do. Yeah. Someone tweeting in at HastySN claiming he makes this trip often. He said, I make that trip often. I either go through Hong Kong to Sydney or via Vancouver. I'm going for a wedding next year. I'll be there for 4 days. Oh. That, like, who invited you to a wedding in Australia? Like, why would they even send that invitation? But with also, all due respect.
Yeah, why oblige to that, too?
It's wild. Like, I remember when we were going through my wedding invitations, I thought long and hard because I had friends that had kind of scattered around the world. And I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to send him one because I would feel awkward asking him to, like, book a flight, fly home.
Oh, you must not have grown up in an Italian family because there could be people on Mars. And if you don't send them that invitation, they are so offended.
You have to. Even if they're going to decline, you have to send the invite.
Part of the whole thing was you got to send invites to Italy because they send them to us and we don't go, but we got to exchange cash. So you got to send it to Italy.
Oh, so you have to accept it, say, sorry, won't be there, but then send cash back with the decline letter.
You send the busta. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, that's not how I was going to operate.
Yeah.
I honestly thought of it through the lens of like my friends being like, oh, dude, come on, man. We're halfway around the world. I basically took the awkwardness out of it for them. Dude, that's how I was thinking.
I just got.
And I think that's a reasonable play.
I agree with you.
If you live in Australia, have a great time. Maybe FaceTime me at some point. I'll give you a double thumbs up. Do the chicken dance. But I'm not coming.
Yeah, FaceTime while you're
flying to Australia.
While you're in your underpants, flossing your teeth, send a little FaceTime. But it's so easy to just fire up a text message and be like, hey, buddy, really love you, but not going to send an invite. You're living all the way in Australia. Yeah. Hope you're well. Maybe we'll connect one day. All good, right?
Next time you're in town, let me know. If I ever get to wherever you are, we'll hook up. That'd be great.
If I told you there was someone at TSN that had 660 people on their invite list for their wedding, would you know who that is?
650?
660, I believe, was the number I just got.
Was it Koliakovo?
No. I mean, I don't know what Koliakovo had.
I feel like Carlos would have been like in the thousands for some reason. It would have been like Bulk Mania would have sponsored it. It would have been ridiculous, the whole thing.
Yeah.
I have no idea then.
Our good buddy Joe from the Bridge.
Of course, Joe from the Bridge.
Right?
Yes.
Who else?
660. How do you even find a venue to host that many people?
That's not a wedding. That's a convention.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. That's a festival. The festival of Joe from the Bridge.
Yeah.
Joe from the Bridge stock Come on out, and we're just going to have a great time.
And you can't possibly go see everyone. There's no way you can say hi to everyone at that wedding.
You're not going around the tables. You know, and there's no way Joe from the Bridge knows 660 people.
Right.
It's another thing. Like, you have to be reasonable. There's no way in your orbit. Once you get past like 500, maybe you're like, I don't know who that person is.
I don't know if you found
There's no way I know who that person is.
When you were doing your invite list, it's like you had to make cuts in like big clumps. You know, like it was either for us, it was like 230 or it was 120 because there were so many people in the same category.
Yes, that's a big part of it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, agreed. It is, because then you start leaking into a different area of your life, and you're like, all right, well, where do I draw the line now?
Exactly.
Anyway, we don't have to worry about that anymore, Frank.
We're all good.
That's the beauty of it. All right, Frankie, I'll see you in there tomorrow, buddy.
Okay, buddy.
Great stuff today. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes. We appreciate all the help. Everyone for tuning in today. Radio, TV, podcast, web. We certainly appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.